208 knots. Smoke on.
The best pilots in the world, racing at 250 miles per hour, just 30 feet off the ground, in the greatest show on Earth. Today, from Porto, Portugal, the 2007 Red Bull Air Race World Series continues, right here on FSN. For the first time ever, the Red Bull Air Race World Series will be contested in Portugal. We welcome you to beautiful Porto, Portugal, known as the City of Bridges. As today, our pilots will compete over the Douro River on the banks of Porto and Gaia. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Goldberg. Welcome once again to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. My partner, Alan Preston, former combat aviator and Air Race World Champion. Alan, here's our situation. The World Series title is on the line with 3 races to go. We have 2 men separated by 1 point. Those 2 pilots, Paul Bonhomme and Mike Mangold.
Mike, these 2 guys could not be more different than they are. Paul Bonhomme, he's a Brit, conservative, staid, very understated, always appropriate. Mike Mangold, hey, he's from the colonies. Yep. Rough, brash, always in your face, willing to hang maybe both feet over the edge. Look at Hungary. He goes out on a practice run, he's looking for 100th of a second. He unloads the airplane, trying to accelerate, he lets it slide, maybe some said dangerously close to the water. He's trying to win the race, and hey, he told us he was going to do that. Some guys don't like it. I don't think Mike Mangold cares.
Well, Alan, what Mike Mangold does care about is the fact that he was not disqualified in Budapest, Hungary. In fact, he went on to win the race. But still, the controversy continues, and there is bad blood a-brewing in the hangars here in Portugal. And for more on that, we welcome in the 3rd member of our broadcast team. Here's Emma Griffiths.
There is a noticeable rift between Mike Mangold and some of the other pilots on the series, specifically the British, who say his flying style is erratic and dangerous. They cite a pass of Mangold's last race under the chain bridge in Budapest, where he was just 5 feet off the water. But earlier on this week, in a press conference, this is what Mike Mangold had to say. "If I were to fly in the same style as the other pilots, I wouldn't be finishing where I have been. That's not my goal." Now that is putting it, as polite as I've heard it all week, down here amongst the hangars. Guys.
Emma, thank you very much. Alan, I got to be honest with you. It sounds a lot like what Iceman said to Maverick, and last time I checked, Maverick ended up the Top Gun. Right now, the Top Gun is the Top Gun pilot, Mike Mangold, with 36 points. Bonhomme has 35, Bessignet 27, and Kirby Chambliss, the defending champion, has earned only 20 points this entire season. And today, it could become official, where mathematically, any chance Chambliss has of defending his title would no longer exist.
Mike, first he missed the podium in Abu Dhabi. Then, here in Rio, things went from bad to worse. He hit a pylon, and then he tore up his airplane. And from that point on, he simply never recovered.
The defending champion has not won a race all season long. And even here this weekend in Portugal, he comes in what I believe he would consider a very disappointing 6th spot. Chambliss, the number 6 seed, he will open up the quarterfinals against Paul Bonhomme, who is the number 3 seed. Of course, as always, the top 8 men, based on their qualifying time, advance to our quarterfinal round. The top seed this week is the Brit Steve Jones. He will open with Alex McLean. All that being said, Kirby Chambliss was able to break down this track for us here in Porto earlier today.
And a nice shot of this beautiful bridge as we're going over the top of it. And we're coming into the track. All right, shipping application for one start chase. Here we go, swarming, starting just a little bit of a turn. Quick, wings level. Oh, got a left side pitch. Looking for the chicane. Hard full G's coming on. And here's where we can make up a little bit of time. This is called our human gate. Pulling hard. Back on around.
Kirby Chambliss, thank you very much. From On Board with Kirby, we go down to the action on the tarmac here in Porto as our pilots start their engines. But before our competition begins, let's remind you once again of the rules and regulations here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series. The course must be passed through in the proper fashion, horizontal through the blue gates, vertical or so-called knife edge through the red gates. Penalties are incurred for the following. The first, flying too high over a gate, a 3-second penalty. An incorrect level of flight, that's also a 3-second penalty. Incorrect knife edge flight through a red gate, 3-second penalty assessed. Touching a gate is a 10-second penalty added to your time. And if a pilot deviates off course at any time, he will be disqualified. It should be a great day of racing here in Portugal. And today's crowd of over 600,000 is the largest crowd to ever witness a single-day sporting event in Portuguese history. They will begin by watching Mike Mangold, the number 2 seed, battle the Brit, the number 7 seed, Nigel Lamb. Our first of 4 quarterfinals for you from Portugal, here on FSN.
Number 3, Mike, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Mangold, the 2005 World Series champion, has won the last 2 races. 3 of the last 4, and in so doing, he sits atop the World Series standings right now. We are set for a great day of racing here on FSN. Mangold is on it. 17 gates in all. Our pilots, Alan, will go vertical. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
You know, this is going to be a fantastic race today, Mike. This track is different than anything our pilots have seen up till now. It's long, it's narrow, it's very fast, it challenges them vertically. I honestly think we're going to see some of the airplanes rise up to the top that we haven't seen demonstrate that performance before. The same with the pilots.
Illustrating your point is Steve Jones, who comes in as our number 1 seed. Jones has only advanced past the quarterfinals 1 time this season. This may be his course, this drag race, if you will, through Porto, Portugal. Gate 12, 5 gates remain from Mike Mangold, the man on the island right now, the pilot that everybody's mad at.
You know, they really are, Mike, and I'm not sure I understand what all this is about, but I think I have a pretty good idea, and it has to do with who's winning. Mike Mangold is a fierce competitor. He started this series early on making modifications to his airplane. He's become more aggressive in his flying. He is beating people in every race, and they don't like it.
And he has finished his quarterfinal run in 1 minute, 12.05 seconds.
Number 3, Mike, cleared to enter hole 3.
Hole 3, number 3, Mike.
So not a bad run from Mangold, but it is beatable. Nigel Lamb, the number 7 seed, flies now.
Number 10, Nigel, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Get to the track, smoke on, number 10.
Remember I mentioned before the top qualifying time, 1:10.32. Turned in by the number 1 seed, Steve Jones. Mangold came in as the number 2 seed. Nigel Lamb, the Brit, looking to advance. He opens at 218 miles per hour.
You know, Mike, this is a track that I think is really well suited both to Nigel Lamb's flying style and his airplane. We could see a pretty good result from him here.
Well, Alan, Nigel Lamb has yet to advance past the quarterfinal round this season. And yes, it would be considered a major upset if he eliminates Mangold here in the round of 8, especially considering that Nigel Lamb has yet to win a quarterfinal matchup this season. Right now, though, he has the lead, ever so slightly, but he is ahead of Mangold's pace.
This is exactly what I was looking for, Mike. His airplane is heavier and it comes downhill faster, and there's 3 verticals on this race course. It gives him his best chance.
3 verticals makes this course very different than any other course that the pilots have competed upon so far this season, but Lamb has lost his edge.
Yeah, the airplane can make up for a little bit of it coming downhill, Mike, but you still got to fly the race course.
All right, 3 gates to go. Can he do it? Still just 0.37 seconds off the pace at the last split. 2 gates remain. Can Lamb pull off the upset? Nigel Lamb storms to the finish. And Mangold Mangold wins by less than half a second.
1 minute 12.49 seconds. Number 3, Mike. 1 minute 12.05 seconds, and Mike goes into the semifinals.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Nigel. Good race. Well done, Mike.
What a great quarterfinal heat. Let's take a look at it again, utilizing our dartfish technology. Of course, Ellen, that is where we show the flight paths of both planes simultaneously.
Mike, now you know I love dartfish, and here's exactly why. There's a lot of talk down on the ramp about who's winning and how, but dartfish never lies. Watch these two pilots come downhill, and you'll see how fast Nigel Lamb's airplane is on the way downhill. You'll see him pass Mike right here. Now watch Mike come right back and get him and go on and win the race.
So Mangold the first to advance to the Final Four here in Porto, Portugal. Mangold is in the semifinals. Coming up, Kirby Chambliss, his quarterfinal run against the Brit Paul Bonhomme. What a first-round battle that will be when we return to the Red Bull Air Race World Series right here on FSN. Welcome back to Portugal. Welcome back to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Moments ago, the Hungarian Peter Bessenye flying against Nicholas Ivanov in the quarterfinals. And keep in mind, Bessenye coming into this weekend is 3rd overall in the World Series standings, so everything is virtually a must-win. Bessenye able to perform in the quarterfinals. He has moved ahead to the round of 4.
And Peter goes into the semifinals.
Thank you very much. Well done, Nicholas. See you later.
Now what he hopes for is for Kirby Chambliss to eliminate Paul Bonhomme.
Mike, I gotta be honest here. What we've got is a 2-horse race. I know there's an outside chance for Peter Bessenye, and there's a lot of people rooting for him, but it would take some kind of miracle for that to happen.
Alan, as for Kirby Chambliss, yes, he did return to the podium in Budapest, but he still finds himself nowhere close to his championship form.
I've been in competition all my life. I mean, I raced motocross as a kid. You know, I've been in competition aerobatics for, 20 years. So I'm used to winning, but I'm still struggling right now. And unless, 3 or 4 people make a mistake, then, I'm not going to end up on the top spot on the podium. That's not to say that I'm not going to go out there and do everything I can in order to cut a refraction of a second off. And I'll risk it all in order to try to, get the 3rd spot, 1st spot, whatever I can get.
Well, Alan, we've known that all along. Kirby Chambliss was a champion last year for a reason, and that is because he's a great competitor. And as frustrating as this season has been, you can't take the fight out of a fighter. And Kirby Chambliss is exactly that.
Well, you may not be able to take the fight out of a fighter, but Kirby's got some problems he's going to have to deal with right here. You remember in Budapest, he told us he felt like his airplane was faster in the turns. I wonder if he's noticed here that this race is almost all straightaway.
Well, we certainly have. In fact, there's really nowhere to go but up here in this city of bridges.
You're right about that, Mike, and here's one of them right here. These 3 verticals. We'll get a good shot at how hard Kirby's got to pull to get the airplane around. And if he's got any hope, he's got to maximize these 3 vertical reverses.
Well, Peter Bessenye and I guess Mike Mangold certainly hope that Kirby Chambliss can once again eliminate Paul Bonhomme in the same fashion he did in Budapest. And remember, when he upset Bonhomme last race, it ended up costing Paul Bonhomme the World Series lead.
Mike, these 3 vertical reverses are creating a very interesting component to this racetrack. And every one of these pilots has got a choice to make about the direction he's going to pull out of this reverse. And it dramatically impacts the line they have through the chicane and ultimately their time in this race.
Well, ultimately, the time in the quarterfinals for Kirby Chambliss, 1:11.55 seconds. That's outstanding.
That's a good fast time.
Kirby, you're cleared into hole 3.
On the holding tree, number 1.
So Chambliss goes into the holding pattern. Bonhomme will hit the track. Chambliss's time, the fastest of the day.
Number 55, Paul, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Get to the track, smoke on, hole 55.
Now Paul Bonhomme hits the track, hoping to eliminate Kirby Chambliss, advance to the semifinals, and stay right on the tail of Mike Mangold in the race for the World Series title. And Alan, it should be noted that if Chambliss does not advance, he will mathematically be unable to defend his championship of 1 year ago.
That would be a heartbreaker for Kirby, and you can bet he's watching this race maybe even more keenly than we are right now.
Inevitably, though, I think he knows that it was just a matter of time after the disappointments early in the year. So focus in, as we will now, on Paul Bonhomme, because that dogfight we've talked about all season long is between number 55, who has the lead at the split, and number 3, Mike Mangold, who has already advanced to the semifinals.
Paul Bonhomme is flying this race like he's looking forward to that match with Mike Mangold. You know, he stumbled a little bit in London and again in Budapest. But right here, this is the Paul Bonhomme we are used to seeing.
Through gate 13, he leads by 0.13 seconds. Bonhomme has to stay on it. This is going to be very close. Bonhomme looking to advance. 2 gates remain. Bonhomme approaches the finish. And he has done it. Paul Bonhomme has eliminated Kirby Chambliss.
Number 1 Kirby, 1 minute 11.55 seconds. Number 55 Paul, 1 minute 11.20 seconds. Paul goes into the semi-final.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Kirby. See you later. Good job. All right, thanks, Porto. Appreciate it.
You know, Mike, the racing today has been incredibly tight. Most of them won by tenths of seconds. It makes it really difficult to see the subtle differences that make a guy win and another guy lose. Here's some really interesting footage that I think will at least give us an idea of the different approaches they're taking. If you look at Paul Bonhomme right here, you can see he's looking out the right side of his airplane. I think that gives him an earlier pickup point for the pylon when he comes back down on the racetrack. When you look at Kirby Chambliss, you're going to notice he looks straight ahead. I think he sees it later. I can't promise you it made a difference, but he did lose the race.
So Alan, Mike Mangold, Peter Bessonnier, and Paul Bonhomme have advanced to the semifinals. We have one quarterfinal matchup remaining. That between the top-seeded Brit Steve Jones and the 8th-seeded Spaniard, Alex McLean, who will be the final member of the Final Four. Find out when we return to Portugal, right here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Welcome back to Portugal. Welcome back to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Quarterfinals continuing, and the top-seeded Brit, Steve Jones, is on the track.
You know, Mike, every one of these pilots is among the top pilots in the world. There's an interesting thing happening here today. Just like cars are better suited to certain racetracks, some of these airplanes are better suited to this course. Steve Jones is flying one today, and he's showing us that.
Steve Jones, the #1 seed for the first time this season, trying to finish #1 for the first time in 2007. His quarterfinal run about to conclude. And he turns in a marvelous time. So Jones with a fantastic time. The Spaniard Alex McLean will have to better. Now, McLean has shown signs of improvement here towards the back half of the season, and also has shown remarkable consistency for one of the youngest pilots on the series. Although it is still worthy of note, McLean was the most penalized pilot last season.
Number 36 Alejandro, you are cleared into the track, smoke on.
Into the truck, smoke on it.
The Spaniard Alex McLean must better the time of 1:10.93 seconds. And as he hits the track, let's check in real quickly with Emma.
During training yesterday, Alex McLean noticed a sudden and significant drop-off in power when returning to the tarmac. Now, I've spoken to his mechanics about this, and they're worried about the plane's engine, which has over 500 hours of flight time on it. They're going to be switching to a new engine for next race, but here in Portugal, his plane's flying nowhere near peak performance. Back to you guys.
You know, Mike, Emma's making an excellent point there. They run these engines at full throttle all the time, making them work as hard as they possibly can. 500 hours is a lot. I'm not at all surprised that he suffered a power loss, and I'm sure he does have to change that motor.
So you're telling me these guys are actually trying to go as fast as they can?
100% of the time.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, truly amazing. But in all seriousness, partner, it would appear that some of that loss of power truly is evident in the flight right here.
It could easily be affecting him right here, Mike. What happens is the engine begins to wear, The cylinders get a little loose. It doesn't make as much compression. You simply have less horsepower available.
And now he's about 2 seconds off the pace that has been set already by the top-seeded Steve Jones. McLean. 2 gates remain. A plane that is not running at 100% is a tough plane to win with, and he will be eliminated with a disappointing time of 1:13.28 seconds.
Number 36, Alex, 1 minute 13.28 seconds. Number 19, Steve, 1 minute 10.93 seconds. And Steve goes into the semifinals.
Excellent, thanks very much. Well done, Alex. Thanks so much, guys. Well done, Steve.
Alan, it wasn't even close. Let's take a look at our dartfish replay.
Mike, what we're seeing here is exactly what Emma alluded to earlier. McLean's engine is giving up the ghost. It's simply not making as much compression, the horsepower is way down, and every part of this racetrack, he's slower. He had no chance of catching Jones, and on top of that, Jones is flying a great race.
So Jones advances, and the semi-finals are set. Steve Jones will face Peter Bessignet. Mike Mangold will face Paul Bonhomme in an ultra-important matchup with lots of World Series title implications. It's number 1 against number 5, number 2 against number 3. It's all coming up when we return to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. A record-setting crowd in attendance here today in beautiful Porto, Portugal. We have advanced to the semifinals, and what a huge showdown as Mike Mangold will face Paul Bonhomme. Also in the Final Four, Peter Bessignet against the top-seeded Brit Steve Jones in search of his first win of the season. It's interesting, though, as we get set for this semifinal round, Alan, there's still some separation in the hangars between Mike Mangold and the other members of the semifinal crew.
Yeah, there is, Mike. Mike Mangold is his own guy, and there's only one set of steps leading to the top of that podium. I don't think he's thinking about those other guys or thinking about taking them along with him.
Mike Mangold hoping to secure his 3rd straight victory. Mike Goldberg, Alan Preston. Alan, we've talked a lot about Mike Mangold, his personality, the rift that is ongoing amongst the pilots. But I think we should focus a little bit on the personality of this track in Portugal because it is uniquely challenging.
It really is, Mike, and the words are exactly unique and challenging. It's long, it's narrow, it's fast, more like a drag race. I think we're going to see some airplanes that haven't risen to the top before shine here. The same with a couple of pilots. It's a great day for an upset.
Maybe that's why we see Steve Jones in the mix here this week, and Steve Jones as the top seed as we continue our competition. This is truly the city of bridges, and the bridges have offered their own unique challenges. And for more on that, let's check back downstairs with Emma.
Well, from the shot you guys just pointed out, you can see the Don Luis Bridge, which pilots were meant to be flying under today. But after test flights, this start and finish was regarded as too dangerous by race officials and the track designer for a couple of reasons. This river is largely tidal, and water levels vary by a couple of feet within an hour. Also, flying west, the structure of the bridge became lost in the sunlight and blended into the sky. This means that the alterations to start and finish have made it a narrow drag race along the Douro River. It's really fast with high, punishing G-force during the vertical moves. Back to you guys.
Emma, thank you very much. Who will dominate over the Douro River? Will it be Steve Jones, Peter Bessignet, Mike Mangold, or Paul Bonhomme? The semi-finals are set. And the first to fly will be the Brit Steve Jones as he attempts to take down Peter Bessignet. That is coming up next, right here on FSN.
I mean, I can win. I know that. And the airplane, we finally got the airplane going really well, I think. I get a lot of stick off everyone for my footwear because deck shoes, you know, you're flying an airplane, you should be in deck shoes. It's the way to go. You know, they're thin-soled so you can feel the pedals. It's very important. But I get a lot of stick from my deck shoes. Yeah, they're not very smart, but you know, it's the way to go. Everyone will be wearing them eventually.
Hey, if Frank Verstay can ride a bicycle around the tarmac, then Jones can wear whatever footwear he wants, right?
I agree. Hey, they're fast shoes. You can't fly fast without fast shoes.
And you cannot be stylish without stylish shoes. It would be very stylish right now for Steve Jones to pull off the upset of Peter Bessignet, and Bessignet desperately needs a win here. Against Steve Jones here in Portugal, it will be difficult. Jones, whose wife Judith loves to watch her husband perform, could truly be the spoiler. Here today in Porto.
Number 19, Steve, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Steve Jones, 0-2 this year in head-to-head matchups against Peter Bessignet, but both times the races have been extremely close. The Brit Steve Jones is on it. Semi-final run. Through gate 3. Knife edge through gate 4.
You know, we're going to have a really good look at his airplane here. Watch how his airplane carries the speed through that chicane. You can see the airplane is marginally faster, and it's going to pay off.
You've talked over and over about that. Why is it so much better than everybody else's equipment as we adapt to this particular challenge?
I don't think it's better than the other equipment. I think it's just set up exactly right for this track. Hey, if I knew why, the other people would be paying me to tell them.
All right, why can't I play devil's advocate here and say, why didn't the other guy set it up the same way then?
That's why some people like chocolate ice cream.
All right, well, chocolate ice cream may win right now. So far, so good for Steve Jones. The time he turned in the quarterfinals to eliminate McLean was 1:10.93 seconds, one of the fastest times of the day. Jones off the half cubit. Makes his way through the backstretch of this track here in Porto. 2 gates to go in this semifinal run. The Brit Steve Jones storming to the finish. And his time is 1:11 flat. Another outstanding run by Jones. Will it be good enough to eliminate Peter Bessignet here in the semifinal run? Bessignet opened up the competition here in Portugal, 9 points behind our leader, Mike Mangold.
Number 2, Peter, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Bessignet knows he must be good here because both Mangold and Bonhomme have made their way to the semifinals. Peter Bessignet begins his run towards another title here in the semifinals.
You know, Jones set a blistering pace on this thing. I'm telling you, Peter Bessignet, you could cover these two guys with a quarter.
I can tell you one thing, partner. It costs way more than a quarter for Bessignet and his crew to invest in their brand new Extra 300 SR. They acquired the new plane. They thought they'd have it ready for Budapest. It wasn't ready. It wasn't ready here in Portugal. They sent it back to Germany. And so right now, Bessignet, who's just milliseconds off the pace, Bessignet is still flying his Edge 540.
And he could be flying it for a while. I'll tell you something. If you could take an engineer and use a slide rule and design an airplane and get it perfect, you wouldn't need test pilots.
Well, so far this test is one of the sternest tests that Bessignet has faced. He's 0.78 seconds off the pace set by Steve Jones here in the semifinals. This is going to be an outstanding finish. 2 gates remain. Can Peter Bessignet advance to the finals? Bessignet will cross the finish. Oh my goodness, he missed it by 1/100th of a second.
Number 2, Peter, 1 minute 11.01 second. Number 19, Steve, 1 minute 11.00 seconds. Steve goes into the finals.
Excellent, fantastic. Thanks very much, 19 Steve. Well done, Peter.
Unbelievable.
Thank you very much. Well
A
done,
difference
Steve.
of 1/100th of a second. All right, partner, I know our Dartfish replay is state-of-the-art, and you're pretty good too, but seriously, can you show me what happened here?
Mike, I don't think anybody's that good. Let's take a look at the Dartfish, though, and see what it says, because it never misses anything. These vertical reverses have been separating winners and losers every step. And right there, you see Peter Bessignet take a slightly different track. I can't promise you it made the difference, but it could have cost him the race.
I know one thing, that is the most closely contested race in the history of the Red Bull Air Race World Series. So Jones advances to face one of the top 2 men on the circuit right now. Either the American Mike Mangold or the Brit Paul Bonhomme. The race here in Portugal, the race for the World Series title, continues when we come back on FSN.
We've achieved a point now where I think it's like Paul and I in the front, but you've got to be careful. It's really the luck of the draw in this ladder system, this knockout system. It's going to be who you get paired against. You can get knocked out. We all know who the faster guys are, and this is when you really got to, put the pedal to the metal and give it some gas.
Well, realistically, both of these men have been doing that all season long. And what a battle we have. What a dogfight. I know you love that expression, Alan. What a dogfight we have for the World Series title. Mangold opens the competition, leading by a single point. Mike Mangold has lost 4 times this year. 3 of those have been to Paul Bonhomme.
Number 3, Mike, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
The ground crew has done a great job here again with Mike Mangold's plane as he competes and looks for his 3rd consecutive victory. He has won 3 times this year: Istanbul, London, and Budapest. Earlier this season, it was Paul Bonhomme who was the dominant pilot, winning in Rio de Janeiro and in Switzerland, and neither man all season long has missed the podium.
Mike, to be the best, you gotta beat the best. There is no question that Paul Bonhomme has been the biggest thorn in Mike Mangold's side all year long. Mangold knows that. He knows he's got to beat Bonhomme right here to establish himself as the guy to beat to win this championship.
And something also tells me, with all the bickering going back and forth, if you will, Mangold's got a little bit of extra motivation right now.
I guarantee he does.
5 gates remain. Semi-final run. Mike Mangold, number 1 on the season. Paul Bonhomme, number 2 on the season. He goes vertically for the 3rd and final time. 3 gates to go. Mangold. Knife edge to the red gate. Horizontal through 16. He will storm towards the finish. Mangold's semi-final time is 1:10.49 seconds.
Number 3, Mike, cleared to enter 03.
A good run by Mike Mangold. In fact, nearly 2 seconds faster than he was in the quarterfinals.
Number 55, Paul, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Into the front, smoke on, Paul 55.
Number 55, Paul Bonhomme. Remember, in our last event in Budapest, Hungary, Bonhomme missed the finals. He needs to get back to the top spot on the podium. He desperately wants to eliminate Mike Mangold here. This battle of the Brit and the American is getting better week in and week out.
Better certainly one word, Mike, but I'd say contentious.
In what way? What do you mean by that?
Well, you remember in Budapest, our English friends led the Redcoats against the Colonials, trying to get Mike Mangold disqualified for his low flying. You can bet that was on Mangold's mind while he flew this race course, and we're going to get a chance to see right here if Paul Bonhomme committed the cardinal sin in sports by providing the Mangold team bulletin board material.
Well, it's sure making it a lot of fun for you and I, partner, and this is a great semifinal heat as well. These 2 men separated by milliseconds. 6 gates remain. This heat, Alan, is just as good as the one we just saw between Jones and Bessigny.
It is, except right there he may have lost the race.
He lost significant time between the splits, and now he is 0.44 seconds off the pace set by Mike Mangold. Will he be able to make up the time? 2 gates remain. Horizontal through 16. Storming towards the finish. And he missed it. Mike Mangold is in the finals. He wins by a half a second.
Number 3, Mike, 1:10.149 seconds. Number 55, Paul, 1:11.00 seconds. And Mike goes into the final.
Thank you very much, Porto. Nice job, Paul.
You know what's amazing here? Mangold, 1:10.49. Bonhomme, 1:11 flat. That's the same exact time that Jones turned in. Bessigny, 1:11.01. Wow.
Mike, I saw something on the second Cuban, and I think it decided the race. Let's take a look right here and look. You see Bonham's in front, and he's going to stay in front while they disappear around this corner. Watch what happens when they come out. right there, Mike Mangold takes the lead, he pulls in front of Bonham, and that's it. The fat lady sings.
One Brit down, one to go for Mike Mangold. And now we know he will at least have a 2-point lead in the World Series standings at the end of the competition today. Will it be 3 points? Find out when Mangold tries to win his 3rd straight race right here on FSN. Welcome back to Porto. Welcome back to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Moments ago, the 3rd place battle between Paul Bonhomme and Peter Bessonnier, and Bonhomme secured the victory, and in so doing, earned himself a very important point in the overall World Series standings when you consider that Mike Mangold still has a chance to win his 3rd consecutive race.
Consolation final.
4:55, thank you very much, and thank you, Porto. Hey, Peter, sorry about that, and I'll see you later.
So, Alan, Mike Mangold is in the finals once again, but today against a different opponent. The wild card all weekend long has been the Brit Steve Jones.
It has been. You know, we talked earlier about this track having the potential to produce some very interesting and probably surprising results. Mike Mangold's airplane, very successful on a more conventional layout,
Right.
but Steve Jones' airplane is faster. And here, we have the opportunity to see Steve Jones upset Mike Mangold. What a surprise that would be.
It would be a huge surprise. It would be upsetting to Mike Mangold, but very pleasing to fellow Brit Paul Bonhomme. The finals are set. We are set to fly. It's Jones against Mangold.
Number 19, Steve, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Into the track, smoke on, 19 safe.
With the crew chiefs looking on, it's number 1 against number 2 for the title here in Porto, Portugal. Steve Jones, the Brit, the first to fly. Jones in his first final of the season. He opens up at 240 miles per hour.
Mike, 240 miles an hour can make a big difference here. A mile an hour is 1.5 feet a second. There's not a lot of high G turns on the first part of this racetrack. I guarantee you that he got to that first turn faster than anybody else.
And a big reason for that is that his airplane is a little bit different. You've talked about that. But let's give some love to Steve Jones, because you gotta have the horse, as you have taught me, but you also need the jockey.
No question about that. And Steve Jones, we've talked about this before. He's a great pilot. Every one of these guys are good pilots. In this particular instance, I think he's got the right horse.
That being said, still he needs right now the flight of his life to dethrone Mike Mangold. And I mean dethrone because Mangold is truly the dominant pilot right now on the series. Gate 13, vertical for the 3rd and final time.
Let's watch him come downhill right here. He's taking advantage of every downhill and carrying that speed to the next turn.
This is a truly different Steve Jones. This weekend in Portugal, Jones's time will be 1:10 flat, the fastest time of the day.
Number 19, Steve, you are cleared in the whole tree.
Okay, nothing.
We said he needed the race of his life. Jones has turned it in. He's dropped the gauntlet. Can Mangold really be faster than that? Find out when we return to the Red Bull Air Race World Series right here on FSN. Mike Mangold set to fly here in the finals.
Number 3, Mike, you are cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Clear on the track, number 3, Mike.
Mike Goldberg, Alan Preston, the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. This will be the final run of the day. The time to beat for Mangold, 1 minute 10 seconds flat. Mangold has been outstanding for the past number of weeks. He will have to be better than he has been all season long to capture the win today.
Well, Mike, he started off 8 miles an hour slower right here, and I'm not so sure that was a good choice.
Could that actually cost him the race?
Absolutely. This is a narrow, fast, very straight racetrack. He's going to carry less speed all the way down to the first Cuban. If he loses it right there, he may never be able to make it up.
And last time I checked, our semifinals, the 4 times have been separated by about about a half a second or so. But he is the leader right here by 0.27 seconds, so Mangold does make up the time.
And Mikey made it up right in that vertical reverse. He pulled tighter, got the airplane back down on the track sooner. That's how he caught up.
5 gates to go. Will it be Mangold or will it be Jones? Mangold is still the leader.
Mangold has got to fly this vertical reverse perfectly. This is where he's been making up the time. This is where he can win.
Will he do it? 3 gates remain. Mangold. Night bench through 15. Horizontal through 16. Here he comes to the finish. Mangold has missed it. Alan Mangold thinks he's won.
He's in for a shock.
Number 19, Steve. 1 minute, 10.00
He still thinks he's
seconds.
won.
Number 3, Mike.
Now
1
he knows.
minute, 10.38 seconds. And Steve is the winner of the air race in Porto.
Steve Jones has upset Mike Mangold.
Congratulations, Steve. Nice job.
This has by far been one of the greatest days in Red Bull Air Race World Series history.
You know, Mike, live by the sword, die by the sword. Mike Mangold's best chance to win this race was at each end of the track in the vertical reverse. He did it perfectly on the first one, and gradually, number 2 and number 3 let him down, and he could not hold on. Steve Jones won it.
Steve Jones wins for the first time this season. Mangold finishes in second place, and in so doing, he extends his lead to 2 points in the overall World Series standings. But this day is all about Steve Jones. First, he dispenses of Alex McLean, then Peter Bessignet, and then he beats Mike Mangold in the finals by posting the best time of the weekend, 1 minute, 10 seconds flat. So Jones gets the win here in Portugal. Finishing in second place is Mike Mangold. So Mangold now has 41 total points on the season. Bonholm finishes in third place, so he is now 2 points behind. And with 2 events remaining, Bessignet is 11 points back of the leader. Our winner today, Steve Jones, is with Emma.
So, Steve, you got to the final for the first time this year against one of the hottest pilots on the season and won. What's going through your head right now?
Well, it couldn't have been a better day, and also put in a really fast time. You know, I knew I was going to have to pull something out of the bag to beat Mike, but you know, I managed it, and it's fantastic, and it's a great feeling to beat Mike, because I know he's a really tough competitor, and he did a good time, but hey, you know, couldn't have been a better day. Fantastic.
We saw Mike not pull out earlier on, so was it a bit of patriotic, you know, battling going on for you?
Yeah, got to get him back for that. You know, got to get a bit of revenge for knocking Bonham out. Also, you know, we need the points. So it's good for that, but I think I'm not sure if it helps. In fact, it does obviously help Paul's points championship as well, so it's almost perfect weekend for the Matadors.
Well, congratulations and good luck for the next race.
Thanks so much.
Guys.
Emma, thank you very much. Congratulations goes to Steve Jones. Yeah, I would say it was almost the perfect weekend. Certainly Jones helped out Bonham in the end because he keeps Bonham right on the tail of Mike Mangold. But Jones deserves a big congratulations because it's been an up and down season for the Brits.
I agree, Mike. He had a tough time in Monument Valley, and pilots have got to be able to compartmentalize, put failures behind him. He showed us this weekend he could do it. He was fast, much faster than he's been. He deserved the win.
And he also reminded us all how competitive it is here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series circuit. So now, Alan, 2 races remain, and the top 2 pilots are separated by just 2 points. For my partner, Alan Preston, Mike Goldberg saying so long from Porto, Portugal. We will see you next time from beautiful San Diego, California, when we continue our coverage of the Red Bull Air Race World Series right here on FSM. So long, everybody.